They're thinking, Harry, what are you doing putting these gorgeous homes here on the stinking sewer of the Chicago River? And that's what it was at the time. Traditional way to build is what's on our right. Now this is a very nice place. See how they're set back from the river with open public parkland and benches and trees and walkways and places you can walk your little white dogs. No, you watch. This is like the mecca for little white dogs. Almost every time I come by here. Now it's raining now and they're delicate, so you might not see me, but it's just kind of weird. Keep your eye out. Now this is actually mandated by city ordinance, this setback thing. You have to do this if you build on the river today. Why? Because if people spend time somewhere, they start to care about that place. It's about building political will. If they care about it, they might support legislation which cares about it. Which brings me back to my story. But first, you guys smell chocolate? Yeah. Collected water 4 miles out in the river, that'd be fresh, clean water. They were wrong. Spring rains actually pushed pollutants that far out. People still got sick and died. Had to come up with a new plan. The new plan was to dig a new canal. Already had the first one I told you about, the Golden Funnel, that first canal. Marvel of the 19th century, still one of the big ones all the time, made a river flow against grade, basically uphill. So now, instead of flowing into Lake Michigan and polluting our drinking supply, it flowed away from Lake Michigan. So Chicago's answer to its pollution problem? Send it to St. Louis. Problem solved. St. Louis didn't like the idea, nobody knows why. They sued us in the end, to the federal court. Ironically, we won that case. But today, Chicago is successfully, conscientiously, very effectively cleaning its river. All kinds of huge
Here's the Trump Tower from a different view, under construction.
Officially upgraded the rating of the Chicago River. One whole grade, it went from toxic to polluted. Hey, that's a lot better. There's a lot of things you can do on a polluted river. Did you see it? Broken. That's a railroad bridge. They've disconnected those tracks. Not expecting the train anytime soon. But you weren't expecting so much about bridges and tunnels here in your architecture tour. That is all architecture, but you're thinking buildings, right? We'll get back to those. This beautiful curved sheet of glass coming up on our left beyond the point. Pedersen & Fox, built in 1983, is a perfect example of the two great hallmarks of postmodernism. First one I already told you about, looking at the past and doing it in a new way. This is looking back at that Chicago school or Sullivan-esque style with the base shaft and capital. The base here is stone clad, the shaft is a curved sheet of glass, the capital is that blade.
This is the Boeing headquarters.
There, but the bosses are here now, so they're Chicago based.
Chicago
Building
Corporation.
Came earlier, though. Built in 1990 by Perkins and Will as the Morton headquarters. Morton the salt guys. Now when we get closer, you can see it's set back from the river with some open trees and open space, benches, trees, walkways. A little picnic area there, very nice. Now look left.
With all the bridges.
There's the old school back to the river. You have to come to old school, new school, new school. I can say anything good, no, right? Well, I checked my facts carefully, and I think you should say, do not take my word for things. Please don't take my word for things. We're all the internet age here. We got to check our facts, all right? So I'm walking trains into the buildings. Take a look at the right-hand side.
There's the trains in there underneath the buildings he was talking about.
It's a 4. We need something else. Come on. So, in 1973, same guys, Skidmore, Owings & Merrill did Gateway Center 3, where they added a little swirl to the vanilla. They added stone cladding. Don't need it, just decoration. So now, instead of being a black glass and steel box, it's a white and black box. Still pop anywhere. Now it's more like a cheap stuff. It's exactly here on the central curve of the river, nowhere else. Postmodernism, paying attention where it's at. The big word for that is contextualism, if you like big words. Well, not long after its beginnings, its inception, Chicago became the second largest population in the nation, being out Philadelphia at the time. Now it's third or fourth. But it was also home to the first 2 mail-order catalog businesses. No, M-A-I-L. Robot. Every word in Chicago. A lot of mail, I-L. So we needed a post office, right? Not just any, we need the big one. We need the world's largest post office. Here it comes. Built in 1930 by the Batman movie, you saw it here first. Chicago is Gotham City in the movies. They filmed them all here. And all last summer that said Gotham Police Department. It's kind of fun. And remember I talked about Chicago liking simple solutions.
It was Batman's Gotham Police Department.
Highway called Congress Parkway. 8 lanes.
Falling apart here.
Traffic goes right through the post office at the 2nd and 3rd floors. And the building came 20 years before the road. They know it's coming. They let the whole.
They're not broken. They're different color.
All the elevators are slowing down the movement of the mail, changing floors too much time. Building became obsolete. If anybody has a cottage industry looking to expand, it is available. Been empty 15 years, you get a great deal. I could set something up when I talk it through. Still need a post office though. So now, spread out.
Okay, point to your building.
Okay. Can you guys see down the left-hand
Give a
side
point
the
and tell
curvy
me what
building
it is.
coming up?
Put it to the
Should look
camera.
familiar.
That's my building.
Remember the corn cob guy?
Called
Bertram Goldberg?
One
Same
Financial
guy.
Plaza.
Did this one in 1986, called it River City. He said, rectangles are psychological slums. They compartmentalize and isolate people, but circles all create center and will bring people to center and create community. He called this one curvilinear serpentine form, originally supposed to snake its way. Okay. Do we have any dairy farmers on board? We're near Wisconsin, it happens.
Yeah.
Any milkmaids? Anybody familiar with the dairy industry? There's a problem with the story. Did you catch it? Okay, I'll tell it again so you catch it. About 8:30 at night, Mrs. O'Leary goes out to milk the guy. No. 5 in the morning, 5 at night, sometimes noon. Those are milking times. Story doesn't make any sense. Taught as history for 150 years. Until 1997.
Sears Tower.
Bought up from Orlando, but hey, that's it up there. We're not allowed to count these as we did at 1730 feet. That would be the highest point of any building in the world. At 110 stories, it has more stories than the Taipei 101. The current champ only has 101 stories. They were grain futures. When completed in 1930 by Hullabert and Root. At 45 stories tall, that Art Deco masterpiece was the tallest building in Chicago and remained so for 35. 9 separate 75-foot square tubes. The columns terminate at different heights. 2 at 50 stories, 2 at 66, 3 at 90, and 2 at 110 to address the wind shear hillsides, and it does. With the name of Elaine Robert, called himself the Human Fly, has since changed his name to Spider-Man. He climbs tall buildings. He's climbed Taipei 101. He's climbed the front of towers in 1999. Took him an hour and a half. No ropes, no equipment. Free climbing the outside like a bug in a wall. Had one hook on his belt and the rest of needed. 10 years of
Hard-by building there.
They designed the building to look like a champagne bottle. Yeah.
Champagne bottle.
Building closer to us here, just beyond the open bridge, with the domes on the corners and the dome on top, one in scaffolding, is the Jewelers Building, built in 1926 by Guyver and Dinkelberg in the Beaux-Arts style we saw in the Wrigley Building, that ornate French style. But in 1926, this building had a really cool modern feature. It had tall and lanky like Abe Lincoln was, real name of Mather Tower. When completed in 1928 by Herbert Riddle, this beautiful neo-Gothic tower. Look how different. Soaring vertical pier, no capital halting its ascent in the sky. Very thin profile, so it's flooded with light from both sides. What would happen in just 5 years to change architecture so much?
Like that.
Ooh, there it is. It was a competition, the Tribune Tower competition. 264 architects of that drawing. But look at the NBC Tower again. On the left, first one I showed you with the peacock on top. See how similar those two buildings are? That drawing by Elalil Saarinen, the Finnish architect who's never finished, has been more influential in architecture than many buildings actually built. Buildings throughout the decades across the globe copied from that 122 drawing. Turns out in architecture you don't have to build it, just draw it. They'll do it for you. But he had a great career out here in Chicago. Elalil Saarinen. We're going to get one brief fleeting glimpse of the third tallest building in the city, the John on top in the mid-distance there. Done by the same team that did Sears Tower. Bruce Graham and Dr. Fosler Kahn did that in 1969.
External support. The X's are external, no beams inside.
Okay, so now I've shown you the third tallest. We saw the first tallest one happen in number 2. Can't do 3 and 1, leave out 2. That's not right. We've been playing peekaboo with it throughout the tours. Right in the center of the city. Kind of hard to remember that way. Done in 1989 by Harry Weiss.
Triangle. Swiss Hotel building.
Story
Harry Weiss loves triangles.
Started this life in 1973 as the Standard Oil building and had its name changed to the Amoco, then changed again to the Aon Center. The tallest building in the world had its name changed. And briefly in 1973, it was the tallest building in the world, period. But for much longer, it was the tallest marble-clad building in the world, and not just any marble, Carrara marble.
Which one?
Same marble from the same quarry where Michelangelo.
What's he talking about? Which one?
Michelangelo got it. I did say I'd show you where the new tallest one in the city is going to be, the Chicago Spire, 2,850 stories. Construction zone on the left-hand side with cranes and the white wall, right smack dab in front of the city, right in the mouth of the river. 2,000 feet, 150 stories. Designed by Santiago Calatrava of Spain. Inspired by a plume of smoke spiraling up from an ancient Potawatomi campfire here at the mouth of the... Remember the corn cob guy?
Corn cob guy.
Yeah, it wasn't him. Remember the square box guy? Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Believe it or not, designed a building look just like that. Was supposed to go up in Berlin, Germany back in the 20s. It was never built. But two students of his, George Shipwright and John Heinrich, saw his design one day in his office and copied it. Used it to put Lake Point Tower down here in 1960.